However, this same theory might have been confirmed by recently published behind-the-scenes photos. As I already brought you 10 minutes long detailed video about this theory, today I'll try to explain it to you as short as possible. This theory of mine starts with Peter Baelish, who did all he could to set Sansa as a queen in the north. Littlefinger betrayed Ned Stark in order to set up a fight between wolves and lions, then poisoned Joffrey on Joffrey's own wedding to save Sansa, and then that same girl, already tortured by the Lannisters, handed over to even more sick oppressor Ramsay Bolton, all in order to turn the North against the Boltons and to give him an opportunity to lead the Knights of the Vale that he is commanding with by manipulating young Lord Robin, which he provided by killing Robin's father and mother, all in order to set Sansa as a queen in the North. As we saw by his face expression in the season 6 finale, Littlefinger didn't expect that Jon, who is not even the heir of House Stark, would be proclaimed as the king in the north by other northern lords, and as we saw in his face expression, that's also the moment in which he started making a new plan. His new plan involves Sansa as his wife, as a wife with whom he would manipulate as he's manipulating with Robin, which would provide him the northern army and would lead him one step further to conquering the Iron Throne. His plan by this theory is to either make a conflict between Jon Snow and the North or to arrange Jon's death, but also to make sure that this time he will get the Northern Army, which marrying Sansa would assure. As I named it, the White Wedding between Sansa and Peter Baelish would happen upon Littlefinger's threat to Sansa that he will pull the Vale troops back to the Vale unless Sansa marries him, while Jon Snow at this point will not be at Winterfell, Jon will be at Dragonstone. Of course, the first thought you have right now probably is, even if he would want to, Littlefinger could not command to the Lords and the Knights of the Vale, but be careful about it and remember what happened in the 4th episode of the 6th season. Don't forget that the Knights of the Vale were mobilized only because of Peter, only because of his manipulation towards Lord Robin. If some of the lords from the Vale, such as John Royce, the Lord of Runestone, wouldn't obey Peter's commands, they would be sentenced to death by the Lord of the Vale, by Lord Robin Arryn, by the Lord who is manipulated and does as Peter says. All the lords from the Vale are vassals of House Arryn and have to do as Lord Robin commands, or otherwise they would be executed. Before I go any further, you have to know that at this point, Sansa will not be alone in Winterfell, there will be her brother Bran by her side who will finally arrive home in the first episodes of the 7th season, while her sister Arya will also arrive at Winterfell a bit later. With emotional scenes between Arya, Bran and Sansa, there will also come to the prominent difference between two Stark sisters, which will eventually result with Peter Baelish taking advantage of and increasing those differences into a conflict between two sisters. Arya has always had more rigid code, while Sansa has learned to be more pragmatic. Arya is a skilled killer and wants revenge immediately, while Sansa has more subtle, manipulative way of doing things, which she learned from Littlefinger and Cersei as well. Having developed very different perspectives, Arya and Sansa will clash over the matter of ruling. Upon noticing this split between two sisters, Peter Baelish will take his chance to take the advantage of this certain situation by increasing conflict between Arya and Sansa, which will not end as Peter Baelish wants. According to leaked plot, Bran Stark will help his sisters to see through Littlefinger's game, which will result with Sansa sentencing Baelish to death and with Arya carrying out the same sentence. But let's get a little bit back. As I was saying, Littlefinger will start his new plan by marrying Sansa, but at the same time he will not be aware that Sansa is manipulating him, that Sansa and Arya found out the truth about his betrayal over their father, which they will most probably find out from the Hound, as the Brotherhood without banners is heading north. There's also a possibility that the Stark sisters will find it out from their brother Bran, as it's easy to assume that Bran will most likely enter a vision and go to the day of Ned's arrest in order to find out who betrayed his father, which would provide his clear answer. However, while there are a lot of possibilities about how the Starks will find out the truth, there is no doubt that he will finally find it out in the 7th season. That's the moment in which the wedding between Sansa and Peter is going to happen, the moment which will lead to their wedding night, which is orchestrated by two Stark sisters, by Sansa and Arya. As this theory continues, Littlefinger and Sansa after the wedding feast will go to their room, and while they are alone, and while Baelish thinks that his cunning skills and his genius mind again resulted with the Starks being manipulated, in that very moment Sansa will put a dagger down Littlefinger's throat, the moment in which Sansa will enter the room, the moment in which we have two Sansas, the moment in which Arya is taking off Sansa's face while holding a dagger on Peter's throat, whereupon Arya is killing him with his own Valyrian steel dagger while Sansa is watching. As I already said in a video by the name The White Wedding in Season 7 that I published more than a few months ago as some kind of proof that Arya is able to use face of someone that is alive, I'm relying on a scene that took place in the final episode of Season 5, a scene in which Jaqen Hagar wore Arya's face who was standing just beside him. In conclusion, Arya would kill a man that is among a few others guilty for destruction of her family, just as she did in Season 6 finale, but now she will kill a man that orchestrated her father's death, a man that set up a fight between wolves and lions, threw the Seven Kingdoms into a state of chaos from which he personally benefited. Arya will most likely be the one to kill Peter Baelish. Now you're probably wondering when and how this theory might have been confirmed. Well, a few days ago, Entertainment Weekly published a series of behind-the-scenes photos featuring Jon Snow, Sansa, Bran and Arya hanging around the set. If you look closely on Arya, beside her wearing northern clothes, you can also notice her wielding an unnamed Valyrian steel dagger that was used by Catspaw during an assassination attempt on Bran Stark. However, that dagger is currently in possession of Littlefinger as he took it from Ned after betraying him, but it seems that Arya will at some point of the upcoming season now take it from Peter. As I don't see Baelish giving away such a precious thing that Valyrian steel is, that precious that only a few houses in Westeros have, while other great houses would kill for to have it, it's easy to assume that Arya will either take it from him upon killing him, or will take it from him while he's still alive, only to a bit later kill him with the same Valyrian steel dagger. If you would like to know more details about this theory of mine, about Littlefinger's death that seems more and more certain, feel free to check out a video by the name The White Wedding in Season 7, in which I provided you every single detail about it. And as always, let me know your thoughts about this theory in the comment section down below. Do you think that this Littlefinger's fate would be a suitable death for the man who is responsible for almost every event in Westeros during the War of the Five Kings, for the man that with his own machinations destroyed one house and almost destroyed few other houses? Do you think that this death would be suitable for him? However, while it can be arguable that Arya wielding Littlefinger's Valyrian steel dagger means that she will be the one to kill him, and while it can also be arguable that this wedding theory will come true, one is certain: Peter Baelish will not survive the upcoming season. Now that I introduced you with this kind of proof that goes in favor to my theory, let me now introduce you with the good news about the 7th season. Each of the 7 episodes in the 7th season could be expected to be longer than the average 55 minutes, while the season premiere will be the longest, since the 62-minute series premiere will be 59 minutes long. However, only the season premiere and finale are confirmed to be a little longer. It's said that finale this season will be supersized, clocking in at well over an hour. Also, a few days ago, showrunner Daniel Weiss and cast members talked to Entertainment Weekly and revealed their major increase in screen time for Season 7. Emilia Clarke said, "When I first read this season I thought, I gotta learn some new lines," and added, "We're actually filming longer now, I don't know how that's happening." Another main character, Peter Dinklage, agrees by saying, "I've worked more days this season than I have in quite some time." While it might be a little bit confusing that the main characters will have more screen time than in previous season, even though this season contains only 7 episodes, showrunner Weiss explained it by saying, "You kill a couple dozen characters, the people who are left by default need to carry more dramatic weight." Yesterday, new stills from Season 7 have been released, providing us a closer look on Arya, Daenerys and Sansa. In the first one, we get to see Sansa at Winterfell with an amazing outfit with nice Stark adornment, while the other 2 stills of Arya and Dany are similar to promotional photos released a month ago. Although it's been rumored for a while that the 8th, final season will contain only 6 episodes, a few days ago HBO has confirmed it to Entertainment Weekly. And as always, let me know your opinion about all of this in the comment section down below. I'm curious what your thoughts are about Arya wielding Littlefinger's Valyrian steel dagger, about the White Wedding, as well as about all those good news about the 7th season. The giveaway winners will be announced in the next video.